I'm Ben Rehrman, 16 years old. I'm homeschooled and I live in Pennsylvania.
It's been a long time that we've been in quarantine, so it's a lot of time to process into one video. If you can give a quick summary of how your experience with COVID has been. So if you want to talk about in the very beginning when it started happening and compare that to now.
My family is very cautious about this kind of thing. 'Cause there's some immune compromised people, so we haven't gone on vacations or anything. We've been very, very careful. Luckily, we've been lucky enough that none of us has gotten it, or nobody in our nobody I've known has gotten it, which has been really great. Mostly been seeing people social distance if I see them at all. So we've just been doing our very best to stay as safe as possible.
I know you're homeschooled, but a lot of schools have had a lot of trouble deciding whether to be in person or online, and people are wondering if they're actually getting the right education or if they're getting the full education. And so since you're homeschooled, has COVID really affected your learning in particular?
So when coronavirus started, I kept joking that I was doing it before it was cool, because I as a homeschooler, I stay home a lot of the time anyways. There were things I did, but nothing school related that really involved me leaving the house. So I've been able to virtually do the exact same thing this whole time, which has been, I guess helpful. It's one of the helpful things. I also think homeschooling has probably gotten a boost. I mean, like the type of homeschooling I do, where it's not through another school, and there's been a lot of questions, like you said, about whether the way they're doing homeschooling type things are working. So yeah.
People who are usually in person, the schools, how they're doing the online version, does that give homeschooling a good reputation?
So I think it varies, because there are different varieties of homeschooling. I guess there are there's different levels of strictness. So there's charter schools that are fully online, and that's considered homeschooling for some people. And then there's the way I do it, which is just instruction from my parents and online. The issue with the online school through a more formal school is just that they're not used to doing that kind of thing. So I think they're definitely, from what I've seen, having to adapt. So I think it depends. Some places seem like they're doing it well. Some places seem like they're doing it worse.
So this is more so for people who were going to more formal school and are online, and advice you could give them. How do you stay motivated when you're not, or maybe your parents are sort of pushing you to make sure you get your work done, but for you, what does that look like?
Well, motivation is sometimes hard. I think, so I'm the key motivation to my work. I'm not really I don't really get said I have to do this amount of work each day. I'm the one who sets the amount of work I do per day. I just have general goals that I'm working towards. I kind of think about what I'm working, why am I doing it, is kind of why I think about it. I think, why am I doing this work? I'm doing this work so I can do something else. My motivation is always if I figure out what the purpose of me doing the work is, then I can get through it easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good advice. What have your top 3 emotions been so far during quarantine?
I'm an introvert, so loneliness hasn't really been an issue. I've still been keeping up with people online and stuff. I mean, I guess generally nervousness, especially in the beginning. You don't know exactly what you're supposed to do. How close can you get to people? Other emotions, I guess, fear, and also kind of frustration. I generally get frustrated when I see people not wearing masks or people breaking restrictions, but it would be better if everybody respected the guidelines as much as possible. So frustration is also definitely an emotion I've been feeling.
In your stay in Pennsylvania, do people seem to be following restrictions a lot, or are you seeing these people who are completely disregarding it?
I think it really depends all over. I know there were a couple of protests in Pittsburgh against mask wearing, which is the other side of Pennsylvania. The people I know have generally been fine with mask wearing, in my local area, but I know there are definitely people who have been against it and upset with it. I definitely see yard signs of people being no mask, and then I see the very opposite, which is support mask. I think it's very divided.
Does it seem to be getting better there at all?
For a while, there were times where it was really spiking other places where it was pretty good here. I think, from my understanding, I think the numbers are technically getting worse right now. I think that's in general, and especially in Pennsylvania, I think numbers are definitely going up at the moment. Generally better. Yeah, I think it's been slowly getting better here.
Have you encountered anybody who wasn't wearing a mask?
I don't think so. I have not been going out that much. I pretty much see family maybe once a week, socially distanced. Although I have heard stories from my family of specifically Amish sometimes not wearing masks, or people in the more rural parts of Pennsylvania not wearing masks. So Not like as a mass judgment, but like just in general.
This has caused like a lot of frustration and confusion and just a lot of negative energy in our world. But has there been anything positive that's come out of this for you?
Spending time with my family has been an overall positive. I've gotten to watch a lot more movies, which is something I really value. So that time has been really great. And yeah, just working on like personal creative projects.
Do you want to talk about like any of your projects or?
Sure, yeah. Well, I've mostly been just finding creative ways to film around the house, which is I think a really interesting project because I think I've realized lately if you restrict yourself, you have a lot of interesting creative ideas.
How has COVID changed your perspective of the world in general? And it's okay if it hasn't.
I guess it's kind of negatively affected my view of the world. I mean, in general, I think a lot of the I don't want to sound like offensive, but like a lot of the ways that like people have dealt with it just made me kind of disappointed. And especially a lot of the corporate reactions, billionaires have gotten richer and poor people have gotten poorer, and like it just I think it really sped up a lot of the divides in the world and a lot of the frustrations I have with the world. So definitely negative, I guess. Definitely negative, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that the world will ever go back to normal?
I don't know. I think there will definitely be a lasting impact. I think things like mask wearing will ease up. I mean, more common just to Zoom call into work or things like that might become more common. But yeah, I think it'll definitely go back to some extent. The question is just like when, like, late 2021. Like that's what I'm hoping for some level of like normalcy, I guess. But that's probably maybe optimistic. I don't know.
So I was going to ask you about if you think that the person you are today is different from pre-COVID, and obviously it's different. But like in what ways, or do you feel like you've dramatically changed as a person, or are you relatively the same?
Uh, I think I've definitely changed quite a bit. Just like it's allowed me a lot of time to think about like what I want to do with my life. And also my 16th birthday over quarantine, so like things like that.
Yeah, it's such a weird question because I feel like we've all changed, but
It's like have you changed quicker than you would have if there wasn't quarantine?
exactly, you have to
But
like
also
it.
now it's been like what like nine no eight
Yeah,
7 8 months whatever it is, which is like just a large amount of time anyways like without a virus. So yeah.
you have to think how much would we have changed anyways. Are you satisfied with the way the US government has handled this situation? If not, like what would you have done differently, or what would you have liked to seen them have done differently?
Uh, so no, I'm not. I think that just straight up like listening to like the scientists more would have been helpful. I think there's been a lot of stuff that was like way over politicized. Specifically, like mask wearing was made weirdly political, where it wasn't even in country like even in like the UK or places like that where like they have strong conservative parties. I think that it's been weirdly politicized here.
Well, this is an interesting interview because we're so close to the election,
Hmm.
right?
Oh, it's so close, isn't it?
How are you feeling? Like just like a check-in on that. Like,
I mean, really nervous. I definitely I want Biden to win. I feel like I feel like like directly relating to the coronavirus. I feel like if Biden wins, we'll have a much more capable administration dealing with it. I feel like the election itself is kind of nerve wracking because there's all these different ways to vote and stuff. And like I can't vote, although I wish I could. But like there's all these different ways to vote and do things like that, which could lead to like all these errors. I'm kind of stressed, but I also kind of just wish it was over at this point. I kind of just want it to happen instead of like this anticipation leading up to it. So, yeah.
yeah, it's like Christmas but terrible.
Yeah, it's just awful.
Yeah, I don't. And I feel like it's such a big thing in like history as well, because like Trump was historical. I don't even know what like.
It's this weird like intersection of like the pandemic and like the historical election with like, all these records being broken for like early voting and like,
Mhm.
turnout and things like that. So,
And
yeah.
that's why I think it's really interesting to like gather how we feel right now, and like after all of this, after the election pans out, we don't know how. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers. I know how I want it to pan out, with Biden, but I don't know. I'm really hoping, and
Yeah.
I hope I can watch back on this video and be like, We did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, all the 2016 things, people are like, Hillary's
Mm,
gonna win. Like, I don't want it to be like that situation. I want it to be like, yes,
yeah.
you were correct type thing.
Do you like trust the adults or people who are in voting age to go out and vote for the right person? Like, do you have faith in that, or
I
is that
think
where?
I think the thing is, I think I generally surround myself with people who I not surround myself, but like the people I'm around generally agree. We have general political similar ideologies.
Yeah,
So I trust them, of course, but I don't know if I don't know about the wide America. It's just a very
it's hard to know.
unique place. So it's hard to know. I hope so. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say yes, and then hope that I can look back on this and be like I was right.
After the election, I know my family and I were talking a lot about how people are going to react to it, and even if it's going to be like safe in some places to go out, because people are clearly, we've seen through COVID that people have very strong, not always good reactions. So I don't know, how are you thinking it's going to go?
Like, I don't know what the reaction's gonna be. I feel like the thing is, no matter what happens, it's gonna be bad. Protesting for what you believe in is a really good thing, but I feel like in general, I'm kind of nervous for like alt-right type like Proud Boys reactions that have been happening to things like this, like the militias and like that kind of thing. I feel like are in general kind of nerve-wracking. So
Is there anything that you'd want to tell yourself pre-COVID? And this is again going on to like how you've changed and stuff, but any advice, warn yourself about something?
strapping, it's gonna be a while. If I was just like, hey, this is gonna be a while, you should plan for that. Um, that kind of thing would probably be helpful.
One of the main thing that I did this like whole quarantine thing for was to document it for future generations who didn't live through it to get a better understanding of it. Um, is there anything you think is really important for them to know, or it could be something about your individual life that you have been through with quarantine, or it's really an open-ended question. It could be really anything that you'd want to tell them.
A lot of things that you think can't ever happen are gonna probably happen, and just like you know, I guess you can't prepare for that, but be like ready for that. You don't think that you're gonna have like a huge pandemic and you won't like leave the house for like 3/4 of whatever amount of time it's been, like 9 months.
Yeah.
Um, I guess you don't really think it's gonna happen, but like it could happen. For people watching this in the current time, just like the more you stay inside, the closer we get to bring the numbers down, the closer we get to going back outside. So stay safe.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Bye.
thank you too. Bye.